Welcome to Beyond the Button, the podcast that discusses AI strategies for UX professionals. I'm Dr. Leonard Nacke, and I'm passionate about user experience and artificial intelligence.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Reza Mokavi, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Waterloo. My work focuses on human-centered AI, and I want to make AI accessible to everyone.
And in each episode of Beyond the Button, we discuss tips, actions, and strategies to help you charge more for your UX design and become more productive with AI. Whether you're looking to level up your senior UX design roles, you want to reduce the time you spend on tedious tasks, or simply want to get ahead in the UX world by using AI, you'll find valuable insights and actionable strategies in every episode. Today, we're talking about responsible AI. Before we dive in, if you're enjoying the show, make sure to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. And join us on Substack. Now, let's get started. So, Reza, today we're talking about responsible AI in UX. What have we got cooking?
Right. Actually, it is a very hot topic. Everyone is talking about responsible AI, not only in UX, but in other fields as well, like in health, education. But we are particularly interested in user experience, and we want to see what is in there for UX researchers and designers and practitioners, really. Could you please move on to the first slide? Yeah. There are
So,
many definitions on responsible AI, what it is. Like I can say it's the jungle of theories, to be honest with you. Many people are defining it in many different ways. Yesterday,
okay.
I was researching a little bit to see what different institutes like Stanford University, Microsoft, and IBM, how they are defining responsible AI. And
Yeah.
the definitions are very actually different, but share some similarities. Do you want to know more about what is shared
I
between all of the definitions?
I think, yeah. So for me, really, when it comes to responsible AI, it feels like it's a very new and it's a very timely thing to talk about, right? I don't know if you saw the recent podcast episode with our Nobel Prize winner on about like what the dangers are of responsible or the dangers are of not having responsible AI and not having like a philosopher kind
Mhm.
of talk about this. So I do think it's kind of important for us to think about what it means as AI becomes more powerful, what that means in terms of deploying AI in everyday life. So what are the definitions? Like how does the academic world understand responsible AI?
All right. Actually, there are, as I said, there are many different definitions. Okay, and there are some core similarities between all of these definitions.
Yeah.
I can say they all boil down to three main things. So
Yeah.
your AI should be ethical. Your AI should be trustworthy, and your AI should be safe and not causing harm to the people. And
Ethical, trustworthy, and safe. I
right.
think. Okay, let me chime in there for a second.
Mhm,
So I think ethical is something that we've talked about in our Substack before. I think which is
mhm,
super important. This idea of safety is an interesting one because again, referencing Geoffrey Hinton's interview, and
mhm.
I think he's talking publicly about this quite a bit. That as one of the pioneers in AI, he's very concerned about safety, right? And I
Absolutely.
think this is also related to when Ilya Sutskever was leaving
Mhm.
OpenAI, right? I think one of the reasons why he left OpenAI was concerns about safety in OpenAI, and so like now he
Exactly.
has a startup where he's like looking into safety. So it's interesting to see that in there. What are your thoughts about like those as being like core
Absolutely.
principles?
So we have also actually done a lot of research together in our lab. We are, I would say, one of the pioneers in this area as well. We care about
It's just like
defining safety, right? So
a
yeah,
little bit
exactly.
of advertisement is always
Yeah,
good.
exactly. For actually whoever is interested, I highly recommend to go and maybe check out our paper, "Who is Responsible When AI Fails?" Me
Yeah,
together
let
with
me
Dr.
find that and put that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Together with Dr. Hadan, we have done a very terrific job doing a thematic analysis on instances of AI misuse, the safety concerns, what has happened actually in the real world that has damaged people's lives. So it is something that we personally are very interested in actually exploring further, understanding what really safety means. And we should not take anything for granted. We should not assume things when we are designing in this domain. As UX experts, we should all the time think about our users. Who is left out from our design thinking? What are the values we need to include in our products? And these are all super important. As some people I see are mistaking accuracy to being safe. No, if your AI model is accurate, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is safe. Do you want to mention something in this area?
No, I completely agree. This is, I think, the big fallacy that you see a lot of the times when, like at the beginning, we kind of had the struggle with hallucinations in AI.
Exactly.
But now we have I saw a bunch of UX designers, and I think this is like a common trend right now, is looking at the output that AI gives you being by default a lie, right? A lot of people treating it like, okay, it's lying to us, but really, like it's a system. It doesn't lie, right? So it's like this thing that, yeah, like sometimes if it can't access information, it will fabricate information, and that will make it sound, I guess, like the output sounds very confident, but you know, this, I guess, false accuracy that we sometimes see doesn't mean it is accurate in the beginning. So there's this idea of like lies, but then even if the output is accurate, so even if we have fail safes in there and in training data in there that it ensures that it is accurate, then I do think the big challenge is still trust, right? Like, so I think this is kind of the intersection of responsible AI and trustworthy AI, is that if the system is perceived by humans, this is purely perception, right? Like if it's perceived by humans as it's like it's lying to us, how do we actually create a system that we can trust, right?
I want to make a clarification here that we do not mean that, okay, your AI should be accurate, but it should also be safe. And you should also take into account that whatever your AI model is generating, because at the end of the day, you are the person, your team is totally accountable for whatever AI is doing or generating. It's not, I always actually say to everyone that AI is not a liability shield. You are responsible for what you are doing, what you are generating, and how you are influencing people's lives with your product, which is something super important.
Yeah. So do you want to comment on this accuracy, not safety, then, that Matthias posted there in the chat?
Yeah. For example, like imagine that, okay, when we are actually thinking about machine learning models, deep learning models from the mathematical perspective, pure mathematical perspective, you give the data, it actually performs based on that data. And we have all of these accuracy performances in machine learning, right? We have the F1 measure, accuracy, precision. All of these actually are for the accuracy. But they do not tell us anything about the biases. They do not tell us anything about the fairness in the model. So we should not be tricked at saying that, okay, if the performance of this AI model, this AI solution is like 90% or 100%, which is actually, I really doubt that someone could get to 100%. Then we say, okay, so something is safe, or you can actually use it for every application. No. And this is something that's happened to us in our team as well, right? You remember we purchased ERG, actually, this brain wavelength tool, and they said they have tested that product only on certain demographics, and therefore that cannot be generalized to actually other people. And
this is a commercial product, right? Like we're talking, this wasn't even AI. This was a commercial EEG brain sensing product. It's still a prototype, which didn't work for the demographic that we wanted to study, or that made up the majority of our students. And they're just like, well, we just didn't test it with that demographic. It's like, you kind of forgot user testing with the important user. I think, this kind of ties into this idea of synthetic users, which is a big debate right now in UX, right? Like, should people use synthetic users, and should they use the insights from that to make any decisions? And I do think it is really important to look at that as in like, no, you really shouldn't, right? Like, there is there is a knowledge that can be provided there, but it is sort of a false basis for knowledge if you're not testing or interviewing or checking with and getting the qualitative feedback from the people that are actually using your software. And this is any kind of software. This is not just AI, right? But yeah, so responsible AI means yes, on the one hand, accurate AI, but also AI that has been tested with users in mind. I don't think a lot of people have done this user testing with LLMs in general, where they were looking at what is the perception of people as they're getting this output, because there is just a huge variety of output that you can get. So
there is still need for more research in this area. Unfortunately, whenever actually we are talking to our friends and colleagues who are in the industry, they say most of the times when people are talking about the responsible AI, they only pay attention to the technical side of things, and they are this is very sad, but they are neglecting the user experience actually side of stuff, the what UX practitioners are doing and what they need. That is hugely missing in the literature, and unfortunately, we still need to work on that area to improve it.
I mean, this is one of the things where we're like, I guess it's on your head right now, where we have this masterclass and we're trying to really help people understand, like what's possible and what can you do there. Absolutely. But anyways, let's go on. So what should we know? Responsible AI, I think we kind of covered most of this.
We touched the basics, there is still more to talk about in this area, and maybe we can.
Okay, what else? What else should we cover? What do you think?
Lots of things like trustworthiness, security, privacy. Many things are actually going on in this area, and I see many.
Let's talk about security and privacy for a second, because I think that's important. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know we've done like some studies and we're clearly interested.
Exactly. One bad thing that actually currently many people are doing is just taking the user's data and feeding it to the LLMs. That is wrong, and that should be avoided. So in our masterclass, we were teaching people about safe prompting. And that is something that we need to really advocate for and encourage people to use more safer prompting techniques in their daily activities. Because let's be honest, when you are actually putting your information in all of these LLMs like chatbots anywhere online, that data doesn't belong to you anymore. So it's going to be used for training purposes, and many actually consequences come after. Which some of them are really ugly, and not all of them are really nice. In our actually paper, we are also mentioning that this has damaged some people very severely. Like we have seen that the celebrities' information being leaked out, some people's like banking information, bank accounts being actually leaked out. All of these are things that we don't want to happen in our products, and we need to be more cautious.
Yeah, I think those are all really good points. I think this, trustworthiness is one of the biggest challenges, but I also think the trick is to understand that you're feeding information to a system, which I think semantics wise, because we are framing it as a chatbot, we're framing it as a chat, a lot of normal users don't see it as in like what you're doing here is you're essentially building software collaboratively with this thing, right?
Exactly.
And so you're feeding data, you're receiving data. It's a data interaction paradigm that's happening here. But because people treat it as a chat, you have these instances of people like falling in love with a chatbot or like getting these like responses back and forth that's happening. That's actually like a really common thing to see. Anyways, I don't want to get stuck, so let's talk a little bit about the emerging UX practices for responsible AI.
So last week I was very fortunate. I found a very awesome paper on ACM Digital Library, which is absolutely a gold. I really am obsessed with this paper, and as you can see, I'm actually reading it line by line. It's my go-to reference. I would love it, by actually a very great scholar, Wang and their colleagues, designing responsible AI adaptation of UX practices to meet responsible AI challenges. I really appreciate what they have done. In their study, through very in-depth and awesome interviews, they have uncovered 3 emerging practices that are used among UX practitioners regarding responsible AI. First is building and reinforcing a responsible AI lens, which is basically building the mindset, right? So it says that we first thing we need to do is to building our mindset that responsible AI is something needed, and it can tangibly make a change in the way that we are interacting with AI. We are proposing solutions. So building that mindset is very important. It takes time, energy, and also it costs money, but it is something that we need to pay more attention to. Right now, most of the times when we are talking to people who are in higher levels of management in companies, they think that, okay, why do we need responsible AI in our organization or in our company? What is it good for? And does it help me to earn more money or not? Which
That's
is
always
not
the
really
question, right?
that is the question. But actually, if we go in that way, that doesn't sadly help to building the right mindset to our employees and the people who are actually in the team. And another thing, actually, as I also mentioned a little bit earlier, is that the role of UX practitioners is sadly downplayed. And we really need to change the way we are looking at the role of UX designers and researchers in our companies. You have written a very fantastic article recently in our Substack channel on how we really need to actually change our mindset on how we are looking at the UX job, and why UX job in its actually traditional way needs to be evolved a bit to really comply with the today's needs in the job market and what's going on in this generative AI field.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments to add here? Yeah, that was a very fantastic article.
It's just gonna put our UX and AI Substack in there if people want to know that. Here's the QR code. So yeah, I do think that's really one of the big challenges. I do think a lot of times people also don't really think about ethics when they think about AI. And again, just to reference Geoffrey Hinton again in this I think it was Diary of a CEO podcast interview, I think the thing that people don't realize is that the advancement can go rather quickly, and so that whatever is coming out of the newest developments of AI can happen rather quickly, just because of the way that these LLMs are structured, right? So there's an advancement in knowledge is possible so quickly and can proliferate so much more quickly than the human mind can grasp, that if we don't do the groundwork now and design this right and design this sort of an ethics first approach, which I think is kind of partially how Anthropic is trying to do the stuff around Claude, right? Like they have a very ethics first approach there. I think there's two problems. One problem is the competition, right? Like the competition is fierce. There's a lot of big companies kind of competing for the market and competing for the access to these LLMs. And then on the other hand, we have this we just want to be productive. We just want to generate the quickest, fastest, most efficient, best output. And people talk about these technical parameters like token length and other things like that. But they don't really understand that in the training and in the way that these LLMs are built, a fundamental understanding needs to be given as what is a safe output, like safe for humans as a matter of fact. Yeah, everyone's talking about, these things aren't emotional, they're not going to wipe out humanity or something like that. But, the thing that we don't understand is like how it can quickly make these connections between pieces of information. A lot of the times we ourselves say, it's quite easy to just understand them as technologies that we interact with that give us some output, and that's just a nice way of looking at it. But at the end of the day, the way that they're modeled, the way that neural networks work, is essentially trying to replicate the way that our brain works. And while it's still in its infancy, in theory, the potential to growth is there just by the way that the programs and structures are put into place. So I think we do have a responsibility. I don't think us, of course, as researchers, yes, we have to research ways to make this happen. But as UX practitioners as well, we have to kind of think about that. And as if we work at an AI company and we kind of building these systems, we really have to think about, okay, what is a responsible way to get this done and to create a responsible AI
Absolutely.
program in the first place.
And also
But
think
I
about
think
the
you were,
social implications of our designs, whatever we are doing. That's also very important. Absolutely.
Well, and I think you are also like really trying to focus a little bit more on, okay, so yeah, like as a practitioner, responsible prototyping, responsible evaluation, what does that mean, right? Like, what is responsible prototyping? What is responsible evaluation?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and for responsible prototyping, I want actually, we have lots of information on responsible prototyping.
Yeah.
Traditionally, it used to be like this, that I'm a machine learning engineer. I design something for you, and then you're gonna just make small comments. And there's a huge gap between actually what engineers are doing and how the UX practitioners, designers want to really communicate their values, what is going on here, and talk about the responsible AI values they can bring to the table as UX practitioners and designers.
Of course, yeah.
So one actually solution I have seen, it's been discussed in this paper, and also I've seen it in some other papers in HCI communities, is to enable UX practitioners to directly interact with the ML models. And that would happen through something they call the prompt programming. We had this prompt engineering, which was a bit more like optimization and solution oriented. And we have, on the other hand, this prompt programming, which is more focused on like design aspects of the stuff and is design oriented.
Nice, yeah.
So we can actually make things maybe a bit more simpler for people to just query, ask the questions, what are the outcomes, in a very accessible way for UX practitioners, and provide a very essentially a common language between the engineers and the designers, so that they can communicate better together. Did you want to add something here?
No, I think that's great. It's an interesting way to kind of see the process of building the input, building the prompt, and kind of looking at that as prototyping as well. I do think that's nice. Yeah.
And the beauty of it is that all of this is happening with natural language processing, like the natural language we have, which makes it very awesome. You don't need technical background. You don't need to know fancy programmings like C# or Python. All of this could happen very easy way for our UX practitioners and designers.
Okay, yeah. Just in the interest of time, I think we should move on to the challenges here and talk a little bit about communication organizational challenges. And what I'm really interested in is the hidden labor aspect. Okay, give me your thoughts on this. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, so communication is really a hurdle here. It's really a big challenge for many people, because they know actually responsible AI is valuable, it is good in principle, in theory, everyone is supporting it. But when it comes to practice, like communicating this value to whoever is investing money is really a tough job, because they can actually empathize, they can relate to, it is good, let's make it actually more trustworthy, safer, and responsible. However, they think that actually UX practitioners and designers should go and just do it by themselves and do not think about the hidden labor of it. Because actually,
what is the hidden labor? What is the hidden labor? Let's define that for people.
This is it. If you want actually your people, like your workers, to learn about the responsible AI, you need to invest in this area. They need to take maybe workshops, like courses, master classes, maybe. And this is really
wait a second, master classes. Is this my prompt? Is this where I say everyone? Everyone, there is a master class. There is a way that we can help.
Honestly, this is very important, because some people think that this could actually happen like by itself. No, you need to dedicate time, energy, money, so that it can happen. And convincing stakeholders, like especially like higher level managers, is something sometimes difficult. And I am saying that people are paying out of their own pockets to participate in these classes, but it is worth it. It is 100% worth it, because it's elevating the level and class of your work, and you're more familiar with the important concepts and principles in this area. but convincing the investors is still a tough job. It's not an easy task at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's move on to opportunities for improvement here. So let's see what we got there. Yeah.
There are lots of opportunities for improvement here, like many. I've just actually listed 4, but there are honestly much more opportunities going on here. So first of all, we know that traditional UX practices like Wizard of Oz or very like storytelling, many of actually these practices need to be updated a little bit to catch up with the needs we have in today's world with the generative AI and everything going on. We need to update things a little bit. So tool and method needs to be developed to respond to our needs we have today. Because I see many of these things are stuck in the past and people really want to actually, I don't know, but we really need to really improve in this area to bring things up to speed and enhance a little bit. And also participatory approaches. If you're designing for people, get them involved. I
standard design practice, right? Like participatory design. Yeah.
Exactly. I remember that I had this very fancy research with a very awesome research group in Hong Kong. And there I realized how different could be the mindset of designers and programmers from the needs and actual requirements of the end users. So this gap should be bridged to make really great products emerge out of your collaborations. Organizational support is also super important. The teams who have support of their team members, the stakeholders, usually perform better. And again, education and training. I cannot emphasize this enough because it is super important. That also needs to be highlighted here, that we as UX practitioners and designers really need to educate ourselves and educate others as well. Because, for example, I am learning something, I can also tell to my colleagues, tell to my coworkers that, okay, I used this prompt, it worked, it didn't work, what was the problem? Or I integrated this AI into this phase of my design thinking, and these are the outcomes, what happened, what was successful, what wasn't successful. All of this could be communicated better between the UX designers and practitioners. And maybe also I think it's a good idea to also enhance our communications with engineer side of things as well, with engineering departments. Which could lead to better outcomes.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's so much potential, and we really should try and leverage that better somehow. So thank you so much for taking the time today to get this sorted here. Really appreciate it, Reza.
Thank you so much, Leonard. I also really appreciate your time and everything.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode, Beyond the Button. I hope you found our insights on responsible AI quite helpful. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more content like this, there are 3 quick things that you can do to support our show. If you hit subscribe in your favorite podcast app where this will go live, you will never miss an episode, and it just takes a second, but makes a huge difference for us to help people discover the show. Second, if you found value in today's discussion, please just leave a comment or a rating in a podcasting app. The feedback helps us improve the show and helps new listeners find us. And finally, connect with us on Substack at uxandai.substack.com, where we share practical guidance that you won't find anywhere else for UX designers that are looking to integrate AI tools into their workflow while maintaining human-centered design principles. We're already working on our next episode, so make sure that you subscribe, you don't miss it. Thank you so much for listening. And if you're interested in this, definitely scan this QR code and join us for our workshop in 1 week about the AI-powered UX designer. We will give you the tools and practices to get ahead with AI. Thank you so much.